Hey everyone, and welcome. Get ready because we are about to go on a whirlwind tour of global fashion etiquette. We're going to decode all those unspoken rules, what to wear, where to wear it, and why it even matters in the first place, from Tokyo all the way to Toronto. All right, let's jump right in.
So let me ask you something. You've got your bags packed for that dream vacation, right? Your favorite shorts, a bunch of tank tops. But have you ever stopped to think, could this outfit, which is totally normal at home, actually be a huge cultural mistake where I'm going? Well, that's exactly what we're going to get into.
Because, clothes are so much more than just, clothes. They're like a language without words. What you put on can shout, I respect your culture, or it can whisper something not so great. It's basically your first impression before you even say a single word.
Okay, so our first stop on this world tour is Asia and the Middle East. Now, this is a huge, diverse part of the world, but there's a common theme you'll see a lot, a real focus on modesty and tradition. It's all about showing respect, especially when you're visiting places that are historically or religiously important.
And we're kicking things off in Japan. If you had to sum up the style philosophy here, it's all about being neat, modest, and pretty conservative. Think clean, orderly, and put together. It's not just about looking good for yourself. Your appearance is seen as a sign of respect for other people and for the whole situation. And trust me, the little details are a big deal here. For business, dark suits, muted colors, that's pretty much the uniform. Visiting a temple or a shrine, definitely leave the super casual stuff like shorts and tank tops back at the hotel. But here's the absolute #1 rule you can't forget. Take your shoes off before you go inside someone's home or a traditional inn. It's a huge sign of respect and, it keeps the floors clean.
All right, let's hop over to China. You'll find a similar vibe here. Simple, clean, modest. But what's really fascinating in China is how important colors are. For example, red is the color of luck and good fortune, which is awesome. White, on the other hand, is traditionally tied to mourning, so you want to be mindful of that. And here is a pro tip that you'll thank me for, I promise. Whatever you do, avoid wearing a green hat. Yeah, seriously. Why? Because in Chinese culture, it suggests that a man's partner has been unfaithful. It's one of those tiny details that has this massive cultural meaning. Crazy, right? It just shows you how much your clothes can say without you realizing it.
And if you're lucky enough to be there during a big celebration like the Lunar New Year, you'll see some absolutely stunning traditional outfits. For women, it's the qipao, and for men, the changshan. They're just gorgeous and a real symbol of elegance and cultural pride. Okay, next up, we're heading to India, a place that is just an explosion of color. The fashion is so vibrant and beautiful and often very traditional. But even with all that color, that key principle of modesty is still super important, particularly for women. So you'll see women in stunning saris or the super comfortable salwar kameez, and men in a kurta. And here are the big rules for travelers. When you're visiting a religious site, cover your shoulders and knees. That's a must. And, sound familiar? You've got to take your shoes off before you go into a temple or someone's house. It's a recurring theme for a reason.
Now let's talk about two countries that might seem very different on the surface, Saudi Arabia and Thailand. But they both share this deep, deep respect for conservative dress. This is key in pretty much all public areas in Saudi Arabia, and especially at temples and sacred sites in Thailand.
So in Saudi Arabia, modesty is really the #1 priority. Women usually wear an abaya. That's a long black cloak when they're out in public. Over in Thailand, the strictest rules are for visiting their beautiful temples. It's simple. Everyone, men and women, has to cover their shoulders and their knees. No exceptions. Okay, let's switch continents. We're flying over to Europe and the Americas. Now here, the rules get a little trickier. They're more subtle. We're talking everything from that effortlessly cool, chic style you see in Paris and Milan to the more casual, it depends on the situation vibe of North America. Let's zoom in on France and Italy. In Paris, it's all about that understated chic look. Think neutral colors, amazing fabrics. It's quality over quantity, for sure. Then you have Italy, where it's more about being trendy and looking sharp. They have this concept called la bella figura, which literally means the beautiful figure. And it's all about making a great impression. But one thing they have in common, if you're going into a church, you've got to dress respectfully. Hopping over to the UK, the style is a bit more classic, a bit more polite. The main thing is just looking neat. Even if you're just in jeans, they should be clean and well kept. And for work, the goal is to look smart, but, not too flashy.
Yeah, if you're in a really formal business setting, a suit and tie is still pretty standard. And like I said, even when you're dressing down, there's this underlying expectation that you'll look tidy. It's really not about wearing expensive brands, it's just about looking like you made an effort. And then we have the US and Canada. The two big words here are diverse and practical. I mean, what you'd wear to a tech startup in California is completely different from what you'd wear to a law firm in New York. Business casual is a pretty common term, but honestly, practicality is king, especially in Canada where the weather can be, well, pretty wild. Okay, for our next destination, we're heading to the incredible continent of Africa. And here, clothing is just wow. It's so vibrant, so expressive, and so powerful. The fabrics in the outfits aren't just for covering up, they tell stories. They can show a person's status, celebrate a huge event, or honor ancient traditions. Take a country like Nigeria or Kenya. You'll see this amazing mix of styles. You might see someone in a super sharp Western-style business suit during the day, and then later that same person is in the most breathtaking traditional outfit for a wedding or a festival. It's the best of both worlds. And to give you a couple of examples, in Nigeria, men wear the agbada, which is this incredible flowing robe that often signals wealth and high status. And then you have kitenge, which are these famously bright, bold fabrics you'll find in Kenya and all over East Africa. They're used to make everything. All right, our last regional stop is Brazil. The style here is bright, it's relaxed, and it's super body confident. In beach cities like Rio, the beach culture is a huge influence on what people wear every day. But here's the thing, relaxed doesn't mean sloppy. Being well-groomed and looking put together, they call it bem arrumado, is actually really important, especially when you're out socializing. Whew, okay, so we've just been all over the globe. So what's the bottom line? What are the big lessons here? Well, it turns out there are a few golden rules that'll help you out pretty much anywhere you go. So think of this as your universal traveler's toolkit. Rule number 1, respect the local way of doing things. When in doubt, just look around and see what people are wearing. It's the easiest trick in the book. Rule number 2, be extra mindful at religious sites. Covering your shoulders and knees is a nearly universal sign of respect. Rule 3, pay attention to symbols like national flags or colors on your clothes. And finally, no matter where you are, just being neat and clean goes a long, long way. And that brings me to one last question for you. We've been talking about places all over the world, but what about right where you live? What are the unspoken dress codes in your town or your city? You know, the subtle rules that everyone just knows? Because honestly, understanding your own culture is the perfect first step to understanding everyone else's. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey.